Now, you wonder how things evolve as you develop a design. And this one was really kind of sitting back and saying, first, let's put the towers behind Bay Boulevard. Let us not put them close to the water. Let's create a low podium and put the buildings back. I think that was the most important decision we made. And by the time we were through, we didn't have a lot of place to have gardens and swimming pools and so on. We could have put them on the roof of the podium, but I think it would have compromised a lot of what we're doing there. And this gesture of this aircraft carrier floating on top of the roof was really a response to program. I mean, it became clearly, as soon as the line was drawn, a major so-called iconic move. But it was first a response to program. If we could get 2.5 acres of swimming pools and park and restaurants, I mean, what an amazing way to sort of celebrate the city. There were a few discussions at that point. It was challenging structurally and operationally, but as you see in the early sketches, it already was taking form as an amazing amenity. And the hotel rising and the continuous series of atria that formed the 3 hotels becoming one great public promenade and restaurants and so on and so forth. And then as discussions evolved, how can we create something new that has special meaning for Singapore, for the iconic building? And the concept of art science evolved, a museum that brings together the arts and the sciences and a whole series of exhibits that will celebrate creativity as presenting art and science together on a whole series of themes. At the time of our submission, this was a free-form building, as you will see, meaning that we basically sculpted it, but we did not yet craft it into what I call an inherently building structure. And it drains right through the center, the rain coming through the atrium of the museum. This is a similar feature in the Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, which designed, and that's the first rainfall. There it doesn't rain every second day. But the first seasonal rainfall, 8,000 gallons a minute coming through into what became the central atrium of the airport. And the roof of the art science being an amphitheater with nightly light shows overlooking the city, etc. Now, I'd like to share with you the evolution of the design. First, I should say there's an extraordinary, we talk about globalization, there's an extraordinary team of architects, engineers, landscape architects, and literally from all over the world, supported by an extraordinary team of Marina Bay Sands. So, I mean, if I would not exaggerate to say that our weekly so-called See and Share, which is a new trick in conferencing, which occurs 7 a.m. Singapore time, 7 p.m. Boston time, weekly, have about, I'd say, every week 20, 25 participants, each of which might have 4 or 5 people, and probably people being in Sydney, Hong Kong, Singapore, Boston, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and so on and so forth. And I say that to you because this is a team effort that I, having been involved with many big projects, have never seen precedented in terms of just the scope and richness of skills and talent brought together. And to talk about the promenade is to understand its scale and to understand that it's going to become part of something even greater. So this is but a small segment of a much bigger idea. Since we began work, the promenade itself has gone through a lot of development. Palm trees were proposed. Eventually interrupted, it was decided by shade trees. This is all part of the dialogue, the URA, design team, client, and so on and so forth. The lower promenade has been developed as a wood structure close to the water level, and then the structure above. You can see the crystal pavilions and the event piazza. Some detail, the palm trees, the walkways, the kiosks that serve the promenade, and the colonnade that continues running towards the north, and then finally the art sign sitting in a pond of lilies, water lilies, floating in water with its own cafe, and this structure turning towards the bridge. Does the bridge have a name? We call it the DNA. Now, the event piazza, we lightly said at the time, will be on pistons. It'll go up and down, so you could flatten it, you could lower it. Easier said than done, but we're doing it. And the piston structure is being designed as we speak, and you can see that it can go all flat, it can go stepping, it can be reversed. This is the cross-section, and I won't bore you with details other than to show that, for example, air is discreetly taken in to ventilate the parking, discreetly taken out, and what looks here like one simple move probably took 3 sessions with the URA to come up with a solution that really placed ventilation and so on in the appropriate place. Here you see the model of the event piazza in a stepping position, in a rising position, and again in detail, the stairs filling out the lower promenade, the bollards with lights, shaded structures that you can sit along the edge, the kiosks, and then the planting. And looking out in reverse towards the promenade from an upper level. In this case, we're looking from the convention center towards the city. How close should trees be? How close should the palm trees be? Sounds like a simple question, but it ended up being a life-size mock-up with people walking through it in Pete Walker's office in San Francisco. And I think it was finally this photograph that convinced everybody that 4 meters was a good statement. Just a little word about the architectural refinement. Working with Arab facades and Arab structure, what were just preliminary gestures have now been refined. This is a structure that contains the Grand Galleria. You see here the ties that keep it from uplift, the masts that hold it down, the shaded structure that basically cover the glazed areas, allow you to look to the city but create shade below. And here's again a more simplified diagram just to show you the structure, the ventilation on top, the cables that hold it down, and from above the hanging cables, all being refined into a very sophisticated structure. And again, this giant canopy that shades the event piazza being held back by its mast and its structure evolving so that the forces are taken to the corners, allowing the view corridor, which is on the axis of the subway, to be totally just plain glass structure, very transparent, very open. This is an early version of the so-called view corridor. You see here that we had corbels, and then a glass structure with shade. On one side we have the convention, the casino, the other the convention center. These escalators are connecting what we call the upper promenade that will be open to the public and cross through the bridge to the Lions Park. So either side are with escalators. Being refined into a much cleaner structure, the bridge has now become part of the geometry of that. And you see here elegantly the structure, this shading not shown here, and how this structure also creates the bridges that connect the sky promenade, the upper promenade, going from the waterfront all the way to Bay Boulevard, across the bridge, going through the hotel atrium, all the way to the park on the seaside. And again, just to show you the painstaking process, we really struggle with what we call our main north entrance, which receives the so-called DNA bridge. And this was the first version in which the canopy simply bulged out to receive the bridge. Nobody fell in love with that. Too fast. And then we thought, well, let's wrap it around. And we treated this as a series of cubes, a cube coming down the promenade, one going into the project. And this was not loved by the architect of the bridge. who actually drew the line and said, rightfully so. So then we said, well, maybe we should wrap it around in a full circle, like a spiral, and place the skating rink, which we had on the other side of the project, in that location, really forming a powerful gateway. But that spiral formation really didn't feel right. And finally, this roof structure coming around with the canopies rising on the two view corridors makes a similar gesture. The roof opens up to receive the bridge ends, lands here, two grand stairs connect to the outdoors, and then you enter, and as you come in, you're able to come across, and you can come down to the skating rink, and you can go up to the roof. And so from here, you can go down to any level, or you can go up to the